We now go to the gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Lankford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hicks, when you arrived in July, did the facilities in Benghazi meet the minimum OSPB security standards set by the State Department?
According to the regional security officer at the time in Tripoli, John Martinek, they did not.
What about the facilities in Tripoli? The Benghazi facilities did not meet the minimum standards of the facilities in Tripoli?
Again, according to the regional security officer in Tripoli, John Martinek, they were very weak, yes. They did not meet.
They did not meet. Do you think they were close to meeting the standards?
No, sir.
Mr. Nordstrom, before you left as the RSO, did the facilities have the number of security personnel that you had requested?
No, they did not.
Mr. Nordstrom, there are a very, very small number of facilities worldwide that are considered by GAO critical or high threat level for personnel serving in our different embassies and consulates. Tripoli and Benghazi, were they listed as critical or high threat level?
They were. That was something that I had put in my written testimony as well.
Correct. By statute, Mr. Nordstrom, who has the authority to place personnel in a facility that does not meet the minimum OSPB standards?
As I had noted in there, the OSPB standards go in tandem with SECA, which is Secure Embassy Construction, both of which derived out of the East Africa bombings or were strengthened after that. It's my understanding that since we were the sole occupants of both of those facilities, Benghazi and Tripoli, the only person who could grant waivers or exceptions to those was the Secretary of State.
Mr. Hicks, why was Ambassador Stevens headed to Benghazi? There were a lot of concerns about him. There were a lot of security issues that Mr. Nordstrom has listed in numerous reports leading up to his trip there. Why was the ambassador headed there?
According to Chris, Secretary Clinton wanted Benghazi converted into a permanent constituent post. Timing for this decision was important. Chris needed to report before September 30th, the end of the fiscal year, on the physical and the political and security environment in Benghazi to support an action memo to convert Benghazi from a temporary facility to a permanent facility. In addition, Chris wanted to make a symbolic gesture to the people of Benghazi that the United States stood behind their dream of establishing a new democracy.
Why was this timing important? Was it significant that he went right now? Was there some hesitation about him going at that moment for that length of time? Could he have waited a couple more months to be able to go?
He had originally planned to go to Benghazi in October, but we had a 2-week gap in the principal officer position. Eric Gaudiosi was departed on August 31st, and his replacement was not due in the country until September 15th. We covered the initial 10-day period with David McFarland, and then the ambassador chose to go. And again, he chose to go for those reasons.
What was the timeline on trying to make this a permanent facility, or was there anything pending that had to be accomplished by a certain deadline?
We had funds available that could be transferred from an account set aside for Iraq and could be dedicated to this purpose. They had to be obligated by September 30th.
Okay. And where did those instructions come from?
This came from the executive office of the Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs.
So they were told to go ahead and check everything out, get the process going in Benghazi because we had to do it, and we had to do it right now. He planned to go in October, but said we've got to get there earlier and get this started in. Plus, there was an opening as well of the principal officer.
That's right.
Mr. Nordstrom, on March the 28th, there is a cable that you sent to Washington requesting to keep the diplomatic security that you already had on the ground, that level of security, and not have that level of security decreased. Did you draft that cable?
I did.
Who was the intended recipient of that cable?
Generally, those types of requests would go to our diplomatic security personnel. Certainly DAS Charlene Lamb, who was with me before in October, testified. and certainly to Undersecretary of Management and Near Eastern Affairs would typically be the distribution for that.
Okay. Thank you. My time is expired.
I thank the gentleman.